Good afternoon, everyone. 12 noon. Honestly, I tell you, I must have OCD because I'm looking at the thing and it's saying 1 minute to 12, and I'm thinking, no, I can't start. I've got to wait until 12. Anyway, it's 12 o'clock now. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for choosing to spend your afternoon here with us. For those who don't know, I'm Patricia Ogunfaber, and I do a podcast show to help people maximize property values, and it's called, yes, you got it, Maximizing Property Values. It's on all the popular podcast platforms, so you can find it on Apple, on Spotify, on Google, on Audible, all of them. That, however, is normally a monologue. But since November, 17th of November, I've added a guest series where I've had, amazing people, true people, real people, authentic people come on here on Clubhouse and talk to me. And then, whilst that series is available on Clubhouse, it's also available as a podcast. And my guest today is Isaac Kikabi. And we are going to get to know Isaac a bit more outside of his property journey, because I like to do that. I'm very nosy, so Isaac, forgive me. Who is Isaac? So Isaac has very succinctly described his journey, and I'm just going to read it out because I was so impressed. And I thought, a few words, but they are powerful words and they just say so much. So here we go. From financial illiteracy, thousands in bad debt, to becoming a senior banker, charity board member, and owning multiple houses. So people just hold those thoughts. So first of all, Isaac, welcome to Maximizing Property Values. But before we go into your property activities, I did tell you I'm nosy. Please tell us, and I'm being specific with you. So every week it's two different questions. At one point, I think I asked three, but you're only going to get two. So your first question is this: can you please share with us one person that you most admire? Now, that person could be dead or alive. And then your second question is, what is the character trait that you hate the most in people or in any particular person? But obviously, you're not going to mention names. So those are your two questions.
Wow, we're starting big. Those are two very big questions, actually. But luckily, I actually already have answers to both of them because I've reflected on questions like this before. So, first of all, it's really easy in terms of who has inspired me, amazed me, impacted my life the most. It's actually one of my mentors, and if anyone ever wants to look him up, he's a great man. He's actually called Lord Michael Hastings. And his bio on Wikipedia doesn't do him any justice. Just to give you some context, he's a man that mentors 180 young, specifically men, and there's a reason behind that, which I'll explain in a little bit more detail. But the reason why this man inspires me is because for all his success, I mean, he sat on some of the best boards in the country. He sits on international boards. For all of his success, he chooses to give, and he chooses to help others, and he chooses to be of service. And we all have our choices in regards to which direction we want to go when we do hit those big targets that everyone wants to hit. But I just love the fact that actually his motivation is always about the currency of service rather than the currency of money, even though consequently through his service he's clearly rewarded quite well. It's just people like that are always fascinate me because it's about the person as opposed to what they do. And I'm really into people's behaviors and what they choose to do. So that's my person. His name's Lord Michael Hastings of Scarsbrick, if you want to check him up. The second question: what is one thing that people do that I'm not a huge fan of? You can see how I churned the question a little bit, but for me, it always comes back to excuses. And this is, I'll be honest, this is a very harsh one, and I only call this out because it's a standard that I live by myself. I would never put anything on anyone if I didn't put it on myself. And I was brought up in an environment where excuses didn't ride. There was always a reason, and most of the reasons tended to be something you did. If your day's gone bad, it's probably something you did. Yes, there's external factors like people and environment, and the bus might have been late or the train might have been late, but you are in charge of how you manage your mood. You're in charge of how you manage your day. You're in charge of how you manage everything in your life. So I'm not a big fan of excuses. I think everything should always be back to you. Be reflective, and find a way of coming back better, rather than saying that it's someone else's fault, or the train was late, or whatever else that people can think of. So yeah, excuses is my answer for that one.
Wow. Do you know, Isaac, I'm definitely going to look into Lord Michael Hastings because he sounds like an amazing man. And one of the reasons why I love the guest series is that I'm learning so much more about the people who are coming on as guests, but not just that. People are sharing things that I know are going to actually impact my life going forward in a positive way. So, looking into this guy, I think is going to be something that I've already written it down. I've written it down. I'm going to look into what he's doing because that just sounds absolutely amazing. And like you say, that is a trait that we should all be aiming to emulate, be aiming to do, And I love how you expressed it, currency of service versus currency of money, because it's not all about money. Oh, thank you, Isaac. What a way to start. Now, you just completed on a house. And I know that you were pretty frustrated with the conveyancing process towards the end. Are you able to share with us some of the lessons that you actually learned from that? You just that part of things first, and then after that, if you're able to, can you share with us some numbers on that? You see, I'm a numbers person. I never say to people, "Oh, do you know what? This is good or that is bad." I say, this cost this and that cost that and this is what it's now worth, or whatever, and let people make up their own minds. I just feel that that's just my way. So if you're able to do that with us on that purchase or another one, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Do you know what? It's so funny you say purchase. When it comes to the conveyancing process, the question always is which one, because I've had a lot of interest in conveyancing, lessons from my perspective. But for the recent one that's just gone through, so just to give a bit of information about what these were. So these were two flats that I saw on the market separately. So these were on Rightmove, in an area that I know really well. I've lived in for about I'd lived there for about 9 years or nearby, and I was actively looking at properties in that area, and I already had a buy to let around there. So as soon as I saw one flat, and then I must have been just searching, I saw another one, and I thought I was seeing the same property. Realized that actually it was all in the same block and same agent. The agent was based in Manchester, which was kind of flag number one. The price of the properties was way, well, in my opinion, above what I believe they could achieve, at least in in their current state. They had tenants in situ, which was another flag for me. So I guess these are the type of clues that made me realize that the market was narrowing for them. And actually, there wouldn't be that many people, even though we were in the height of the market and everyone was saying that everything's selling at top dollar and all of that stuff, or top pound. Actually, there's specific stuff that's selling really quickly, typically kind of turnkey homes that are done up to a good enough standard, maybe just need a lick of paint, nothing too much for kind of home movers with families. But something like that was just going to sit on the market, and it already sat on the market for probably about, I think it was about 6 weeks, I think, by the time I had seen it. So arranged a viewing, went down there, managed to put the offer in. Offer was accepted. Fast forward to the conveyancing process. So my conveyancer, my conveyancer was brilliant. There's a few little bits that maybe, there's always a moment where everyone could have done things a little bit better, but she was proactive and everything. But the challenge was the seller's solicitor. So the first opportunity and sets of inquiries and all of that stuff, it took the seller's solicitor the best part of about 6 weeks to respond. And it was so ridiculous that actually the agent almost thought that the firm had closed down. They just didn't respond. They didn't respond to emails. They were being
No.
chased by the seller. They thought that the firm had closed down, but for whatever reason, they were under the cosh. Maybe I have my own opinion about a business being under the cosh but taking on more business. Is always a really interesting concept. But anyway, that was quite hectic. And then kind of fast forward even more to later down the line. um, there was a few mistakes that I had made, and I've said this kind of in some of my posts, where you've got to be very careful in the conveyancing process of how you communicate to the agent, um, who then communicates to the seller. Because probably about 2 months ago, I was very positive, very optimistic. I'd been told by my solicitor that we're not far now. We're just waiting for we're waiting for a few more queries to come back, and then once those queries come back, we go to the lender. I will represent the lender, all of that stuff. It turned out that actually that wasn't the case, and I'd given that level of optimism. So the seller's thought process was, we are almost there. But actually the reality was far from, because the lender that we actually ended up going with, who my broker put together, the lender had given us the impression that they were happy with a dual representation using my solicitor. And for anyone who doesn't know what dual representation is basically your solicitor can represent the lender as well as yourself in the transaction, rather than the lender appointing their own solicitor, and then you effectively have two solicitors having to coordinate and talk and go back and forth and all queries and all that stuff, which can take longer. But then kind of on the last hour, the lender changed their mind and actually ended up um, instructing a solicitor. And that was just, yeah, that's when all the problems started, because the solicitor wanted to more or less start the process again in regards to checking every little minutia detail, making us redo forms because they were out of date. There were so many things that, because I had given an impression to the agent and the seller that everything was okay. This is where the threats of, we're gonna have to, we want to exchange next week, we want to complete the week after. And in a nutshell, for 2 months I was kind of crisis managing the situation, which is part and parcel of the property game. It's not the end of the world doing that. The deal was intact and we got the deal in the end. But that was quite a painful process to some extent, that could have been avoided if we had known that the lender was going to need to self-represent. I would have probably chosen a different conveyancer, because I would have gone with probably a conveyancer on the lender's panel, rather than going with my own. And then on top of that, just those little things about communication and making sure that maybe you're not given too much of an optimistic view of what's going on. So that was where we got to. And then on the final hurdle, again, the seller's solicitor went MIA, kind of when we were more or less ready to exchange and complete. And the seller was basically telling us, we need to exchange before Christmas, otherwise I'm taking the property to auction. But then luckily they could see that their solicitor was the one that was dragging things on, and then we ended up completing on the 5th of Jan, which was a relief. I should have been popping bottles, but no, I was literally a massive sigh of relief for myself and my joint venture partner. So that's a bit of context of how the conveyancing process went on that deal.
Do you know, I was literally just laughing in the background because and you've said it so like well. When you have two solicitors acting for the purchaser or regarding the purchase, it literally just slows things down. And funnily, I was doing something a couple of months ago, and so the same solicitor was acting for both my company and the lender. And then the solicitors found out, there was something else that needed to be done. So my husband's firm did that. And the solicitors wrote to me and said, "Oh, well, since your husband's firm can do this, why doesn't his firm represent you and we'll represent the lenders?" I'm thinking, you must think I'm an idiot. And then you will then shift all the burden, all the legal burden, onto this other party and just delay things. As I said, no, thank you. I said, I don't like it when that happens. I don't think they were too impressed, but I thought, cheeky people, how dare you? We've started on the basis that you're going to be representing both of us, and then you're saying, oh, why doesn't your husband represent you so that you do sod all? And that really would be it. Because what they do is they make the solicitor who's acting for the purchaser, so they're acting for the lender, but all of the burden, all of the work, they pass it on to the person acting for the purchaser. It's like, do this, do that, do this, do that. What about this? What about that?
It's worth adding as well, which you're well aware, Patricia, is that you cover the costs, and that's also another factor, that another element that wasn't factored into the numbers, is that I would be paying the lender's solicitor's fees. So I'm reviewing this deal, the process of this deal, because like I said, I always like to reflect rather than blame everyone else. I want to find out how I can improve my internal process. But there's definitely better questions I could have asked in regards to this specific deal. However, there's also another element in regards to, okay, at what point and whose responsibility is it to inform me as someone who's paying for a service? And there is a lot to say in regards to, could my broker have told me in advance? Could my broker have found out? And that's something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, is, lenders can change their mind. I don't think it matters particularly what your broker puts on the table. If a lender decides to go a different direction because maybe they've looked at the risk criteria and they feel they need to, then that could just be something that you have to just swallow.
Yeah, I think with lenders, it's, they are a law unto themselves. You either take what they're offering or you go somewhere else. There's no room for negotiation, there's no room for compromise. It's, their way or no way. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right there, Isaac. What could you have done differently? They said, the same solicitor could represent both of you. Then they changed their mind, and they never pick up any costs ever. You have to pay for everything. So yeah, yeah, I think you're doing the right thing, which is, let me not look for who to blame. It's happened. Let's move forward. But that lender, I'd be slightly wary of them going forward if I were you, to be honest, because they ought to have processes in place. So they ought to have known from the word go whether or not they could use your solicitor or not. So to change their minds, halfway through is really not a good thing. Anyway, let's put that to bed. So in terms of numbers,
Yes.
can you share with us? Just make us happy. I'm salivating.
Yeah, of course. So with the numbers, just I'm going to give you the numbers of the way the deal was structured initially. Now, just some caveats on them. There was an extra £1,800 bill for solicitors, which I haven't put into the number. I have a spreadsheet deal analyzer. I plug the numbers in. I haven't updated it since this deal because I've just been dealing with other stuff. But these were the original numbers, and I think hopefully, the math whizzes, like Jason in the audience, will be able to see that maybe the buffer was there for eventualities like this. So we with this deal, it was on the market initially for 325. I think it was 325 around there, for the flats being sold individually. I went in a lot lower. We ended up agreeing at 280 in the end. And this is down south, two flats, one bottom is one bed, top is two bed. It's in the Greater London area, North Kent, so it's an area called Northfleet. For some people who know kind of that side of southeast, and just in terms of the actual. Just some headline costs. So we went via a mortgage on this one, so we didn't do anything exotic like bridging or anything like that. Just because the joint venture partner that I'm dealing with, that I'm working with, they're very much on a long game. So it actually worked out better to just go down the mortgage route, fix it for 2 years, rather than try and recycle that cash as quick as possible with the added cost for bridging. So purchase 280,000. Legal costs were 2,400 plus 1,800, which I haven't put into the numbers yet. Stamp duty 8,400. However, still looking into the dual the dual relief, so the relief that allows you to hopefully pay less stamp duty for having more than one property under one purchase. But in all honesty, I'm still figuring out whether it's worth its while. But we've for now we've paid 8,400, and we've got 12 months to decide what we're going to do with that. I paid for a survey. I When it comes to these types of purchases, I always get a building survey, a full-on building survey. So I paid £900. I got a really good deal for both properties, and the overall outbuilding. Broker fee £800 for both, lender fee plus valuation fee, renovation, lender fee, all of that stuff. We're looking probably about £500 as well. Now, renovation costs, I've got them down as £25,000, based on the just the state of the property and where it's at. I believe that the end value of the properties jointly will be 360,000 once we're done. Now, the main bulk of that 25 grand that we're looking at, with a small contingency, is actually converting the one bed flat to a two bed. And that's really where we're going to get most of the uplift. And based on the comparables that I'm looking at, having two beds in that block should land at about 360. But then if we end up landing at about 340, I'd still be okay, in regards to what our target is. And in regards to the cash left in, which is the figure that, I know some people in the audience want to focus on. We're looking probably between 30 to 50k left in the deal. And if we do leave 30 to 50k, we're looking probably between the range of about 22 to 30% return on capital employed. So it's a deal that, if all goes well, could be quite a rare one down south. But one thing that I always say is that when it comes to these types of deals down south, when it comes to return on capital employed, I'm happy to go as far down as 15%. I know it sounds a bit crazy to go from 25 to 15%, but it's only because what's in between there is the things that actually are just there for contingency eventualities that we're not sure, in regards to some of the some of the conditions of the property, because it's been kind of left to just do what it's been doing, and the property is old, but it's probably more badly maintained, so we might end up having to spend more on the refurb. And also when it comes to actually looking at the exit, such as instructing solicitors and all of that stuff, there's obviously going to be costs associated. So yeah, we're hoping we're going to land high double digits, nearer to the 20% return on capital employed, which my investor will be ecstatic about, and I would definitely be happy to talk about once all the figures are in, because I can then finally turn around and say it's not just a one-off, because I get double digits for my property in an area called Swanscombe, which is just round the corner from Northfleet, and everyone always tells me it's a one-off, and I've always wanted to prove that you can get these types of returns down south, as long as you find the right deal. So hopefully I'll be able to come back and verify all of these figures once the project's done and we're 2 years down the line, and we're remortgaging and pulling some cash out.
Wow, what amazing figures. Do you know, well done for finding this, well done for negotiating it, well done for, recognizing, those properties as being properties that can actually get you the kind of, like, returns that you, have shared with us. Your The legal fees, oh, they're making me sick.
I know.
Like,
I know. I had to
four
pay them.
thousand.
I felt the pain.
Wow, that is criminal. Honestly, that is just. It really does annoy me when I see things like that. It really, really, really annoys me. Anyway, but um, excellent survey. 900 for both properties. Broker 800 for both. Great stuff. Renovation costs 25k. So these two flats, are they in a block on their own or a block with some other flats?
No, a block on their own. So we own the freehold as well.
Wow. See, that is even better. That is even more amazing. Oh, and by the way, sorry, I wasn't able to pin your Insta link, because when I tried to, it was prompting people to log in, so it didn't go straight to your account. And I think that probably is Instagram, um, how it works. So I put your LinkedIn one up.
No, that's completely fine. And just to let, so, thank you, Rosita, for messaging me in the back channel. So it's called multiple dwellings relief. That's what I was trying to blab through when I was saying some sort of tax relief for buying two properties under one transaction.
Thank you, Isaac. So, just for the benefit of people listening to this, you can obviously go and Google it. But what it is, and it tends to work best with like really high value properties. So if you're buying two, same people, in the one transaction, you're allowed to actually take what you're paying and you can split it down the number of, like, the units that you're buying. So in Isaac's case, it's two. His purchase price for both was 280. So for stamp duty purposes, 140,000 would be attributed to each flat. So you work out the stamp duty on 140, and then you work out stamp duty on another 140, and then you add the two of them together, and that is the stamp duty that you pay under multiple dwelling relief, rather than having to pay stamp duty on 280, because the tiers actually, they increase, the higher the amount, is why this actually works. And it's another reason actually why I do tend to look at blocks of flats, just like you, because I think, there's a slight advantage that you can get, quite easily and lawfully, and why not. But I tell you what, I disinstructed a firm of solicitors roughly about a year ago because they didn't know about this. And I thought, I can't be teaching solicitors about the law that they should know about. And I just said, okay, fine, sorry, I'm not going to instruct you anymore. And I went somewhere else because it's just too much hassle. What if you didn't know about it? They'd literally just, make you pay, which they have made you pay actually. They've made you pay the full amount, um, without, necessarily looking into it. But I don't know how much I don't know how much difference it's going to make, because the 280 itself is not that high, and in any event you're still going to have to pay like the 3% surcharge on both. So maybe, financially it won't make that much difference. But anyway, um wow, this is, and then 22 to 30% return on capital employed. Excellent, excellent. So with your mortgage, was that a 25% loan to value, or were you able to get an 80 or 85?
Yeah, so we actually ended up going for an 80, just because we wanted to free up more cash towards the works that we wanted to do. And it was I think it was a difference of a percent. I think it was about 0.8 percentage point was the difference in rate. And looking at the monthly repayments versus what we needed that cash for, and what we believe that, it's funny. I was on a in a room yesterday, and I was talking about opportunity cost, when it comes to cash. And for me, I'd rather that cash go into the refurb to secure the future value, rather than, I guess, in the immediate 2 years worry about 0.8% per annum. So for us, it made sense to go down the 80% route and pay the higher interest rate on the mortgage.
Do you know, it's funny actually that you should talk about opportunity cost of, borrowing as you have. Now, I'm not a figures person. I hate figures. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand them to a certain level, which obviously I have to, but I tend to look at things very, very, very simply. So I'll give you an example. I took out a second charge loan on one of my properties that had a hefty early repayment charge associated with it, and I'm paying 7.19%, which is high. But the alternative would have been to have paid the early repayment charge. So that didn't make financial sense. Another alternative would have been, for me to maybe, like, go and bridge something else. But bridging is going to be, for most people, starting at 10%. So either way, I kind of like looked at it and I thought, oh, I'm happy with this 7.19. It works brilliantly for me. Um, and that is something that a lot of people don't think about. Maybe their friend says to them, like, my mortgage on my home is, I think, 1 point something percent. I can't remember what. It's 1 point something. if I then think about that and I say, oh gosh, 7.19, that is like nearly seven times, or maybe six times, however many times, more than what I'm paying on my home. Oh my gosh, I can't do that. You'll never do anything. So like,
I completely agree. I mean, I'm still very much learning, and I love finance. I'm the complete opposite. I love the numbers because I've been in an environment, especially with my day job, where I've seen how just some very smart people have been able to work finance to their benefit, and actually what you pay for finance is only relative to the opportunity. People some people pay masses of amounts for kind of short-term finance, but then the opportunity on the other side, because they're probably using a business model that doesn't have much competition, that they're able to squeeze out much bigger returns. It's always relative, rather than, I guess, where some people's mindset might go is it's the expense element. I think there's the focus on it's expensive, as opposed to actually, does the opportunity make sense? And if you were to go somewhere else, let's say there was delays on being able to get that finance, or for example, this deal here, we're talking about, I mean, we're down south, so we're probably talking about 95k worth of cash. That's circulating within that deal, then plus the refurb and costs. So, when sorry, 95k, and then yeah, that is everything. Sorry, there isn't an addition. But when you look at it from that perspective, this transaction took nine months. I mean, when that's expensive to me, because that money could have done a lot more different things in the space of that time period. So it's not so much the expense; it's the opportunity that should always be the focus.
do you know what? And we thought we were talking about property, but here we are with a financial mastermind. Thank you, Isaac. I knew it was going to be so interesting talking to you because of your background and what you do and how you think. And it's so refreshing to actually hear somebody just break it down in the way that you have. Absolutely amazing. So 95k, which is, to my mind, because I'm not a figures person, I would never see 95k as 95k. I'd always see it as 100k, because 100 is so much easier to work with than
I could have been a
95.
lot more specific, by the way. I decided to round it up.
Oh my gosh, no, that is great. And the thing is, like you say, it's all about the opportunity. What are these? You've not even worked in. Okay, you've said as soon as you do the works, they should be worth about 360. But you've not even factored in, what inflation is going to add to the value of those flats, because that is going to be something else. So it just looks so good. Well done, well done, well done. Now, now that you've broken it down, because I love I say I hate figures, but then I love figures like this. I love the detail. I'm a detailed person. I like people to specify and say, boom, 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 boom. This is what I did. This is how I did it. So I just absolutely love this. So are you able? You said you didn't know, which one to share, and you've picked this one. Go for another one, please, please. I'm just loving listening to how your thought process, and how you're doing it. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to say actually was, I like the idea that you pay for a broker, because I pay for a broker as well. And you hit the nail on the head. Because sometimes with free brokers, they've got so many customers or clients, that they don't really prioritize your work. And then things get delayed and they get delayed. And if you are lucky, you finally get your mortgage offer and stuff. If you're unlucky, the seller actually pulls out because you've taken too long. But when you're paying a broker, they have to focus on your case. And when I've been paying brokers, I normally get my mortgage offers within about a week or two, usually.
Yeah, I agree. I've interestingly enough, that when I bought my first property, I had a it's my partner's sister actually. So she was in property. She was the one that initially introduced me to the whole world of property and what you could do. And she used a broker, so I just copied. I was like, well, if it's good for them and it's working for them, then let me go down that road. And also, I've worked in branch. I've worked with mortgage advisors. I've managed mortgage advisors, and I've what I've realized is when you're dealing with one lender and a mortgage advisor that only has a panel of products that are specific to that lender, then you're fixed to a lender criteria. And if you don't fix that, if you don't fit that mold, then computer says no. And on top of that, most times your credit rating's tarnished. So it's I always looked at it as a broker would look. They don't have to look whole of market, because not. I know brokers say that they look whole. I mean, there is enough time to look at the whole market, but what they're designed to do is look at your specific situation, and then find a product that can be matched to that situation, or a lender that has the risk criteria that actually matches your situation. And it's funny when I speak to my friends. I'm helping one of my friends draw down some funds from his property, and he's self-employed. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to wait 5 years. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna put myself on payroll and all of that stuff." And I just said to him, "You've been," because he spoke to a bank, and they were like, "Oh, that doesn't look possible." But in the end, after speaking to my broker, it's just solutions. It's actually, if you did this and if you did that, then there's this set of lenders that would be open to dealing with you. And I think that's where they're worth their weight in gold. And that £500 saves you so much money down the road, in my opinion. Or some brokers charge more, depending on how complex the situation is.
Exactly. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. So, any other ones to share? Do you know, I'm really interested in your one bed to two bed because, again, as you may probably know, I'm into this as well. Really, really love flats. What size is your one bed? What size is the two bed?
Yeah, of course. Give me one moment. What I'll do is I can go. I have a deal in front of me. It isn't a flat that I can. We've just had this offer accepted on this deal, and in all honesty, we're quite excited about it. So I can go through that if you want,
Okay, yeah, that sounds
and
good.
then what I'll do is in the meantime, I'll get the original advert up on Rightmove, so
Oh,
I can get the
don't,
rough square
Isaac,
footage. Are you sure?
don't. Oh, no, sorry, you can do that. I thought you meant to pin it because
No, no,
people
no, no.
now they
Oh
go
no,
into
no.
rooms and they steal other people's deals.
Oh no,
So,
no,
so
no,
that's why I'm
definitely not,
saying no,
definitely
no,
not.
no.
I won't even share the address. I'll be mad
Yeah,
to.
brilliant.
But
No,
yes,
okay.
this is the property in Leeds that we've just had an offer accepted on. So originally it was brought to us. I believe the seller. So we work with sourcing agents, but we focus on agents that deal with fast sales, who we're all aware of. But at the same time, we obviously want to make sure we understand what the circumstances are, because what you don't want is a fast sell, quote unquote, and then effectively the seller pulls out halfway through because they needed something that was unrealistic, and maybe you weren't going to be able to deliver anyway, or maybe the circumstances actually were inappropriate. So yeah, we work with agents that allow us to look at deals that are off market, and just through building relationships with them, we've had quite a lot. Our deals get better with time because of the relationship. So there's one in Leeds that was presented to us. I think it was being sold for something like 101. We managed to negotiate it down to 96 in the end. And how we did that, by the way, is just offer it. We did a combination of we agreed to pay the seller's solicitors fees, and also we just gave the broker a little bit of an incentive as well, to just get that deal over the line. Just I think it was like an extra £500 to their fee or something like that. But it worked out. The overall figure is going to be 96,000 with everything all in. So in terms of the breakdown of costs, we're looking at total sunk costs, so solicitors, sourcing fee, mortgage broker, lender arrangement fees, and stamp duty is around 8,400. Where we're also looking at doing this via a bridge. So the bridge interest we're looking at about it's going to be around 10%, and that's going to be across 6 months. Although we think we'll pay back the bridge sooner. We think refurb cost is going to end up being about £7,000, and the rental at the moment for the property is. The rental is actually quite low, and there's a reason for that, because there's a tenant that's been in the property for quite some time, and yeah, the rent just hasn't been increased. However, we're looking at this in a long term from a long term perspective, and we know that the market rent in the area, even though this tenant's paying 400, we know the market rent in the area is closer to 600, which is quite significantly lower, but the deal still works even with the tenant in place, and that's something we will address further down the line. So the target end value of this property, believe it or not, is 135,000. So that's obviously a great, and we really analysed this deal. We looked at our own comparables, we looked at the agents' comparables. We actually put a caveat in the offer, which basically, yes, stipulates that it's all linked to the valuation. So if the valuation comes out the way we need it to, then everything's all good. I won't go into too much detail just because it's a bit of a negotiation that's a little bit sensitive in my opinion. But at the same time, if anyone wants to message me and find out what that is, I'll be happy to share. So once all costs are in, then we're looking at, actually, once we remortgage, at the 135 valuation, looking at a 75% mortgage, we're looking at leaving about 8,900 in the deal, after all has gone in. And I think this is where it's really powerful, because if we are able to increase the rent to where we need it to be, which is around the 600 mark, immediately, based on the 8 to 9 grand that we leave in the deal, we are, take away management costs, any insurance costs, take away all the fees that come out, the monthly mortgage, we're probably looking at about a 30% return on capital employed, and a monthly profit of about £250. Now, this property's up in Leeds, so of course it's very different to the figures down south on the two flats that I shared. But again, I really care about that return on capital employed, because that's the comparable against if I'd put that money elsewhere that I care about at this stage in my journey. So it's a deal that we're really, really excited about. And also there is also scope, because on the road there's actually precedents where a 4-bed house. So this is a 3-bed semi-detached house. There is a 4-bed semi-detached that actually sold for 175. So if we so choose to go into this deal and do something a little bit more ambitious, we could actually realize the higher end market value. So I love a deal like this, which, sorry, with this deal, apologies. This deal actually has no tenant. I actually thought it had a tenant, because we're looking at another deal which is quite similar. This deal actually has no tenant in situ. So the 600 that we believe we can achieve is based on the research that we've done, and we would look to tenant it once we finish the works. So yeah, very exciting deal, as I said, and loads of potential. Whether we decide to keep it as a 3-bed, 135, if we decide to increase it to a 4-bed, then we're looking at potentially 175, and we just need to look back at the opportunity and see if that opportunity is worthwhile. Will we make any extra money by actually spending extra cash? And if not, then the deal stacks perfectly as a 3-bed, and we don't need to overcomplicate it.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well done, Isaac. This sounds absolutely amazing. So this is just right. Okay, so for the benefit of people listening, I am today talking to Isaac Kikabi, and you would have heard everything that he is saying. Now, Isaac, just share with us your Instagram handle, so that, because it didn't allow me to pin, and if people are listening back on the podcast, um, on their favorite podcast app, then they will know how to get in touch with you. Because you see, the thing is, people, subject to people being able to sign the appropriate certification, you might be able to work with Isaac going forward on a joint venture basis. So if you're interested, you're going to want to know how to get in touch with him. So Isaac, please do share your Insta handle, please.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And just to highlight as well, do you know why Patricia's amazing? She's always looking out. So I did a post just the other day talking about how I raised 50k in 6 months, and Patricia immediately went into my inbox and just said, remember PS/13, sorry, PS13/3, which is an FCA guideline in regards to marketing financial opportunities to effectively retail, anyone who's deemed not to fully understand exactly what the complications could be in terms of losing money on investment. So Patricia, thank you for always looking out for me, and it's something that I'm very, very aware of as well. So if anyone wants to follow me, or reach out to me or message me, or ask me any questions, feel free to just hit my face, go to the bottom of my profile, and you'll see that my Instagram handle is actually attached to my profile, and you can go via that route. Or if it's telling you to log in, then if you just my name on Clubhouse is Isaac Property as one word. On Instagram, it's Isaac Property with an underscore in between Isaac and Property. So just copy that and throw an underscore in between, and you'll be able to find me. And I have started doing strategy calls as well. So if anyone feels that they want to just have a conversation and maybe find out a little bit more about how the way I'm doing things might help them get clarity, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. However, if it's something that I can't help with, the whole point of having a network is that you can then recommend people to amazing people like Patricia. So, if you think I can be of value, please just reach out.
Do you know, Isaac, people are going to think that we actually planned this.
Let me just put away the script.
Oh, no, no, no. Thank you very much. No, it's all about community, isn't it? And, we're all learning all the time. I'm learning, you know, and I love listening to other people. That there are some rooms, I guess, on Clubhouse which I don't now go into, because yeah, for some reasons. And then there are other rooms that I enjoy so much, I don't go into them because I think if I go into them and I get so excited and I put my hand up, or I'm invited up, I could talk forever more in a day, and that's just not really good. So again, I just but yeah, we should always be here for one another. So I guess in our own little way, and you do a lot as well, Isaac. For what you're doing, you are forever helping people. But it goes back to what you said in the beginning, Lord Michael Hastings: currency of service rather than a currency of money. So that is just absolutely great. So people, if you want a JV, you've got money sitting somewhere. um you know we're not advising you to do this, and we're not selling you anything. We're literally just saying, if you want to find out about those kind of opportunities, reach out to Isaac. If you qualify, and he will give you a form which you can sign, then you can then start to look at the individual opportunities that might be out there, and you can start to make the sort of returns that Isaac has spoken about: 22 to 30% on one deal, circa 33 on another, possibly more, if Isaac decides to actually kind of like, go from a 3 bed to a 4 bed. Absolutely amazing. So, well done, Isaac. Now, unless you want, no, I think we should go personal now. So, when is your baby due?
You know what? So we're doing this hypnobirthing, and we have to change our terminology. So we don't say when is baby due. We say when's baby due from, because it takes the pressure off the deadline and the guilt
Oh,
that,
right.
oh my days, baby hasn't arrived on this specific day.
Yes.
Because due dates are actually fallacy. There's a massive tolerance between expected dates and all of that stuff. But our due from date is from February the 5th. So effectively, anytime from today. I mean, I could come offline for a little while because I might be knee deep in baby stuff, but it's any
Ooh,
time now.
how exciting! How absolutely exciting! It takes me back decades.
Yeah, we can't wait. We're ecstatic, and it's all the emotions. I mean, there's a few people in the audience who I've spoken to who are expecting soon as well, and it's always the same emotions. You just get this sense of responsibility, duty, excitement. This is the first time for us, and yeah, we just want to do it right. So there is an element of overwhelm as well. So yeah, it's a host of emotions.
Oh, do you know, Isaac, I love this idea about when is baby due from. So thank you for, kind of like, teaching me about that. So when my boys hopefully, start to have children of their own, I will know to not say, when is baby due? I'll say, when is baby due from? I remember my first child. So I'd been given a due date, and you're so right. That day came and it went, and I'm thinking, what is going on? What? I need this baby. I need to have. I want to hold my baby. I've been looking forward to this for 9 months and more. I need to hold this baby now. Anyway, and then at some point, I think he was, according to what we were told, I think he was about 2 weeks overdue in the end. And any twinge, I was down. I was down in the hospital. I was there. Oh, I think I'm having contractions. I remember one day my husband saying to me, "You're such a time waster." Um, Oopsie, red bar. You're wasting their time in the hospital. They're dealing with emergencies, not with your little Braxton Hicks. Because each time I had a twinge, I called him. Right, get my bag. Let's go to the hospital. Get my bag. Let's go to the hospital. And in the end, there was this nurse who was there, and she said, "Oh, I know what you're going through." She said, "I will break your waters for you, and then that way they won't ask you to go back home. So, but when you leave the hospital this time, you will take your baby home with you." And that's exactly what we did.
Oh wow! Do you know what?
12.
I'm learning so much. From a guy's perspective, I mean, there's an important role you're playing, but then at the same time, it's my partner who's living it every single day. So I'm honestly just inspired by the whole process, and it just, I always knew, because I grew up mainly with my mum. So for me, I've always known that what women do is amazing, but this has just added a whole new layer. There's I mean, can you imagine if I was walking around with, effectively about 5 pounds now, probably, or 6 pounds of weight? I would probably be telling the world about how awful my life is, and how stressed I am, and can you this, can you that? But honestly, my partner hasn't complained once. She's just cracking on with it, and it's impressive.
I guess because she's loving it and she's really looking forward to it. So, on behalf of everyone in the room and everyone who's going to be listening to this, whether or not before or after the baby arrives, we wish you good luck. Absolutely good luck. And
Thank you.
Isaac, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to me. Despite what's going on, at home, and it's just really, really. I am just. I've got such a big smile on my face because it's such an exciting time, and I'm kind of like I'm stealing some of your joy and and taking it for myself. But it's such a joyous occasion. People, everyone just loves a new baby. Well, I do anyway. So, um, people, if you're listening, follow Isaac, like he said, tap on his face, Clubhouse face, and go down to his scroll down to his Instagram, and you can scroll down his bio where you will see his Instagram link. Then you can actually just, go there and follow him. And his LinkedIn link, LinkedIn, I can't talk today. LinkedIn link is posted above. So again, you can go and follow him there. And if you are into Instagram and you are already registered there, so you won't have to keep on logging in or on. He is Isaac underscore properties. Is it T's or T?
Good question. So it's Isaac underscore property.
Property. Okay,
Made
so
me think
T
there for a
Y.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah, TY. That's
Yeah.
right.
So just go there and do that. And his posts are just so amazing. They are just literally, amazing. And they share. Isaac actually shares so much knowledge in his posts. So they're definitely, definitely worth, kind of like, going to look at. And next week, Wednesday, what we've been talking about today will be released as a podcast. So that will be going on to, all the usual podcast apps. So if you have a favorite one that you listen to, just tap on the link above and you can subscribe to the podcast. And if you like and you enjoy what you listen to, why not leave a review? Rate the podcast and leave a review. That would be great if you could do that. But today, it's just been so great talking to you, Isaac. Next week, we've got Mr. and I call him Mr. deliberately, Mr. Tosin Talabi. He is a consultant and he works with, I think it's the Army or the Navy, some sort of like, I think it's the Navy. I think it's the Navy. But I think people in the audience, you probably know as well, that doctors are doctors until they become consultants. And so the male ones, when they become consultants, they're no longer doctors, they're Mr. So we're going to be talking to Mr. Tosin Talabi next week. So come and find out how a consultant, a medical consultant, dabbles in well, not dabbles, has a business property, has a business property, has a property business, and how he copes with both. And yeah, really, really looking forward to that as well. So everyone in the room, thank you so much for spending your time with us, and I look forward to seeing you next week for the guest series, and tomorrow if you're going to come to UK Property Secrets. Anyway, have a great afternoon. Isaac, thank you again so much more. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and learning a bit more about you as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Patricia. And yeah, really, really love what you're doing with the Maximizing Property Values podcast. And I'm definitely going to listen to some of the older episodes that you've been doing on this series because it's inspiring stuff. So thank you. And hopefully 2022 is the year we meet in the real.
Do you know what? Definitely. I am so fired up. Yeah, I came into 2022. I was buzzing. I'm still buzzing. And I don't normally like meeting people, I have to admit. But this year, I'm so looking forward to meeting so many people. So, yeah, let's definitely, definitely try and put something in the diary. That will be great. So, take care, people. I'm going to close the room in 3, 2, 1.